For those of you that have had a lot of Scratch practice, I have a special challenge for you. Now, if you want to try the challenge, but you don't have a lot of Scratch practice, don't worry. Everyone will get a chance to try this challenge, okay? But for right now, for tonight, a few of you will get the opportunity to do this challenge. Everyone will be making a game. Some people will be making this, and the requirements are you have to have had a class in Scratch before, or you have had to attend a Young Engineers of Today class or summer camp that did Scratch before. And the reason that I'm making this requirement is I don't want you thinking like, oh, hey, I don't need to know the basics of Scratch. It's so easy. Well, actually, it gets tough pretty quickly. And not tough as in you can't do it, but you do need an introduction. And so, this is really just for those that have really done a lot with gaming with Scratch and don't necessarily need to go through these basics again. So this is definitely a special challenge. It's on Edmodo, and it's to play the game Frogger. So if you're interested in doing that for the next hour, staying logged in, still listening to what we're doing in class, but you guys can be working on this Frogger challenge. And I'm really not going to be helping you with this challenge at all. This is for you all. You have some notes, but then it's, can you do this? Can you follow this on your own? Send me a message. And in that message say, I want to try the challenge, and this is my experience with Scratch. Like, I attended a Young Engineers of Today class, or we did this, I took a class that used Scratch heavily. Not just for one project, but we really studied it for a little while. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, everyone is making a game today, so don't think I'm choosing between, a really fun challenge or a boring class. Everyone's making a game today. This is just for, 5% of the class that really has done a lot of Scratch already. And in order to do the challenge, instead of doing the game that we're all making, which is, I can show you guys this little Scratch game here with the bouncing sun. I want you to show me or message me, say, hey, I want to try the challenge out. This is my experience with Scratch. Oh my gosh, Emma, 3 years Scratch, you're good to go. And I'll respond, go for it. Or why don't you hang out with the class today? All right, and it's on Edmodo. It's a PDF, and so you can just click it. And it's hints. Honestly, it's not step by step. I mean, this is for people that have done kind of enough with Scratch so that they can kind of build this game on their own. Oh, frog control isn't the thing. It's called Frogger. The game Frogger. That's okay. You still got to send me your background though, Grace. Oh, no, not send a picture. Like, have you used Scratch a lot in the past? You need to tell me, like, what you've used Scratch before. Never mind then? All right, that sounds good. Stick with us. This isn't, I think I can do Scratch. This is, okay, good. All right, the rest of you guys are with me today. That sounds great. promise we will be making a game, and I'll check and make sure we're moving quickly enough. So we're going to start a new file. Let me save this program. I'll save it as Sun Chase. So I made a new file in Scratch, and to do that I did File New. Everybody, go ahead. We're going to start with this brand new sheet. Raise your hand if you need another minute to open Scratch. No? Wonderful. All right, so what we're going to do today, if you guys remember, we ended class when you guys made, okay, Emma, you're still opening Scratch. Well, that's okay because you're doing the Frogger, so that's okay. We started Scratch, or we ended class by having Scratch Cat do that dance, right? Emma, I do want you to stay logged into the webinar, though. I don't want you to sign off of the webinar. So we had Scratch Cat do that dance, and so Scratch Cat, one of our sprites, was acting out the sequence of commands that we gave him. Right, commands built from these blocks from our block palette, blocks that from the different corresponding shapes, colors, right? Each different category has a corresponding color. And we gave Scratch Cat a sequence of commands, and then he acted them out in this stage. The first thing that we're going to do today, and we're going to go ahead and do it, is we're going to create this game where Scratch Cat has to dodge a sun. The sun's going to be bouncing all around the page. So we're going to give Scratch Cat 2 backdrops. So double click or click the stage down here. Eyes on my screen. As a reminder, I'm going to say eyes on my screen. I want you to see where I'm clicking, and then you'll do it on your own screen. So you're going to click the stage. You're not going to be doing this off of your Sprite 1. You see how Sprite 1 says scripts and costumes? No, you're going to click stage. And where it says scripts and backgrounds, you're going to click backgrounds. And you're going to click new background from paint. Everybody's eyes should still be on my screen. You're going to use the fill tool to create a nice, beautiful blue sunny day. And you're going to create some grass with the rectangle tool. That's the only thing you need. If you want, you can add flowers or you can add some clouds with the paintbrush, but you're not going to add a sun. We're going to add a sun in a little bit. All right, and I'm going to just add one cloud here, just to say I did. All right, this is not a very good cloud. Okay, all right, and now you'll see that's what that background looks like. So go ahead and try it. Now it's your turn. Go ahead and add one to your own screen. How I did that, I clicked the stage kind of sprite down here, and I added a new background from paint, and I used the fill tool, the rectangle tool, and the paintbrush tool. Go ahead and try that now. We're going to spend the next couple minutes on that, and you can customize it to some degree. And hold on one second. All right, so you're going to switch. Now you have your background 2 finished. You're going to click background 1, and you're going to edit background 1. And for this nighttime, I'm going to do a dark blue and some stars with the paintbrush. So you had a daytime and now you're going to add a nighttime. So go ahead and you guys try that. Okay, you're going to click that white background on top and hit edit. And it's going to let you paint and do some editing. Alright, as on my screen, you're going to name those nighttime and daytime, or night and day. It doesn't really quite matter. Night and day would work just as well. And the reason that you want to do that, you're going to be coding and referring to these backdrops or backgrounds. And if you just use background 1 and background 2, it's really easy to forget what those look like. So you always want to name your backdrops, always want to name your variables, always want to name your sprites. And we're going to do that in just a moment. Raise your hand if you need another minute to work on your backdrops. All right. We're going to spend about another minute working on backdrops. No worries. You're not in a rush. All right. So, Hannah, Rachel, can we move ahead? Raise your hand if you still need another moment. And honestly, girls, we can move at your own speed. All right, we'll take another minute on it. Don't worry. Ava, Emma, Grace, feel free to message me if you have a question, but you are going to be working pretty independently right now, okay? And Hannah, whenever you're ready to move forward, just put your hand down. If you need me to repeat any step, just let me know. All right, wonderful. Let's go ahead and move forward. So we're on the stage. So as in my screen, we're on the stage. And we're going to switch from backgrounds to scripts. Okay, and I want to just point out right here that we can actually add scripts for the stage as well, just like it was a sprite. So we're going to add some scripts here because what we want to do is when the game starts, and we actually did this I think separately in the other game, but when the game starts, we want it to be nighttime, okay? So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to switch the backdrop to night. And when the space key is pressed, we're going to switch the backdrop to day. So at the beginning of the game, when that green flag is clicked, background will be night. And when gameplay starts, when that space key is pressed, we're going to switch the background to day. So go ahead and try that out. So someone just asked, hey, do I have to do this on my Raspberry Pi or can I do it on another computer? You know, really we're just practicing Scratch right now so that you guys can understand Scratch. That's why I really do encourage that you use the 1.4 because we'll be using Scratch when we do physical computing, right? Controlling LEDs, then turning on or then turning off. But it's okay right now if you don't use Scratch on your Raspberry Pi. We're still practicing using Scratch so that you can use it on your Raspberry Pi at a later date. Alright, we're going to move forward. Hey, Brooke. Let me know if you need a moment to catch up. I see that you keep going on and off. So we've scripted it so that the stage, when the game starts, it's nighttime, and when gameplay starts, when the space bar is pressed, it becomes daytime. This is all in the stage. Now we're going to click Sprite 1, which we know as Scratch Cat, and we're going to rename Sprite 1 Scratch Cat. And I'm doing that eyes on my screen up here. I clicked Sprite 1, and then up at the top, I changed its name to Scratch Cat. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. So if you take a look at the Scratch Cat icon, eyes on my screen. I know you guys are probably going to get a little sick of me saying eyes on my screen, but it's just a reminder for when you should be watching versus when that you should be trying on your own screen. So eyes on my screen, if you take a look at this little cat icon up top here, it shows you the direction that Scratch Cat is pointing. And the reason that's important is we've gotten really used to using this move 10 steps block, right? Well, if I have Scratch Cat move 10 steps, right now Scratch Cat moves to the right. But if I move this little blue line by just clicking and dragging, or by using the turn 15 degrees block, let me do that. Now when I say move 10 steps, Scratch Cat moves down. Scratch Cat will change and will move forward whatever direction he is pointing. And that's going to be really important in just a minute. If I want to, no matter which way Scratch Cat is pointed, if I still just want Scratch Cat to move in the X along the X axis, then I'll use change X by 10. All right. And if I want Scratch Cat to move up or move down just along the Y axis, I'll use change Y by. So Y will let you go up, or if you use a negative number, down. X lets you go right, or if you use a negative number left. Alright, that was just a demonstration. What we're going to do, I'm going to use the point in direction 90 degrees to make sure Scratch Cat is pointed to the right. I'm actually going to leave that out there. Eyes on my screen. We're going to make it so that when the green flag is clicked, Scratch Cat starts pointed right and over to the left side of the screen. So if I put my mouse over at the left side of the screen, notice down here the coordinates say about -215, -20. So I'll use the go-to block and I'll say, why don't we do -200, and we'll have our y set to 0. So now you can go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and do that now. Code that so that when the green flag is clicked, Scratch Cat starts over here. That's called an initial condition. So every time the game starts, we want Scratch Cat starting in the same spot. Go ahead and add that code now. Hey Vivian, I see you just are joining us now. So we're working on a Scratch game. And you can honestly just jump right in with Scratch Cat. We have 2 backdrops as well in the stage, but that doesn't matter. It's not super important. You'll see that when the green flag is clicked. It's nighttime, and when the space bar is clicked, it's daytime, but I would just have you jump right in with Scratch Cat. Alright, eyes on my screen. What we're going to do is we're going to use what's called an if-then statement. And that's under control. So what this does is it checks to see if a condition is true. And if that condition is true, blocks of code are going to be run, the blocks that are encased in this C block. Now if you remember from last week, we had Scratch Cat move across the screen by putting the move 10 steps and the wait 0.1 seconds in a loop. So what this loop does when I click it is it runs these 2 blocks, first the blue one, then the yellow one, and then it starts over. The blue one and the yellow one, starts over, blue one and the yellow one, and whatever is encased in this C gets repeated 10 times. The if-then statement is going to work in a similar way, except instead of repeating, it's only going to run one time, and it's only going to run if the condition in this kind of space here is true. Oh, no, Grace, that's okay. That's A-okay. Just keep going. It's really not. Yeah, guys, some of you that are working on the challenge, if you're using 1.4, the notes I made were for 2.0, so don't worry about it. Just the graphics don't have to be perfect. Okay, back to this game. Sorry about that, guys. Answering a question. So we're going to check to see if the user is pressing the right arrow key. So you'll see that sensing is a category here, and we haven't used these yet. But if it looks like it's like this kind of shape here, like a squashed stop sign, these are conditions, and they can either be true or false. So either the user is pressing the right arrow key, or the user isn't pressing the right arrow key. If the user is pressing the right arrow key, then we want Scratch Cat's X position to change by 10, right? We want Scratch Cat to move to the right by 10. Go ahead and add that code to your game. It shouldn't do anything quite yet, but in a little bit it will. Can't tell what's making noise in my... Sorry about that if you were trying to copy this. So right now, X will only be changed by 10 if the right arrow key is being pressed. If not, it will skip whatever blocks are in this C to the next thing. So eyes on my screen. I know some of you are still putting it together. You'll get a longer opportunity in just a minute. Once you have this C block set up, it's really easy to have it check to see if the left arrow key is being pressed. All you have to do is right-click anywhere along this yellow block, this orangish block. I'm going to do it close to the if. Right-click, duplicate. And notice this C block is now kind of attached to my mouse. I can click right below the original C block and change it so that if the left arrow is being pressed, you're going to change X by -10. Go ahead and do that. Now, if I right-click this top if statement and duplicate, it's going to duplicate the top one and the bottom one, which is nice because now I can check if the up arrow is being pressed or the down arrow is being pressed. I can no longer use the change X by 10 or change X by -10. What can I use instead? Raise your hand if you know what I can use instead of change X by 10. Hey Rachel, what can I use? Great. We're going to use change Y by 10 if up arrow is being pressed and change Y by -10 if down arrow is being pressed. Hannah, I have a question for you in just a second, so don't even worry. I'm going to add this sequence of code to the green when the green flag is clicked, but nothing happens. My cat won't move left or right or up or down. Hannah, I'm going to put your hand down, but raise your hand if you think you know the answer to this question. Why is that? And this is a tricky question, so it's absolutely okay if you don't know the answer. Why is my cat not moving? I'll give you this hint. When the green flag is clicked, it's going to point Scratch Cat in the right direction, right? 90 degrees means point to the right, just like this. It's going to put Scratch Cat on the left of the screen. It's going to check, hey, is the right arrow key being pressed? If so, change by X, but if not, just skip down. Is the left arrow key being pressed? Well, if not, just skip. Is the up arrow key being pressed? If not, skip it. Is the down arrow key being pressed? If not, skip it. Alright, code's done. Game's over. What piece of programming syntax or kind of programming grammar, what kind of block could we use so that it's going to check more than once? What kind of block have we used before so that it's not just going to check once, it's going to keep checking? These checks are going to get repeated. All right. We're going to use a loop, right? Because a loop is how you repeat blocks of code. So we're going to repeat it so that it's checking not once, but as long as the game is being played. And that's a special kind of loop called a forever loop. So now it's going to point in direction 90. going to go to the left. You don't want to repeat those. You just want that to happen one time. And then as long as the game is going, it's going to check if any of the arrow keys are being pressed. And we got a moving cat. Go ahead and add that code. All right, Hannah, I'll let you catch up. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out. I'll give people a moment to catch up. No worries. Raise your hand if you have not got Scratch Cat to move, if you're still working on the code. Go ahead, raise your hand. No worries, just I need to know. Raise your hand if you're not ready to move forward, or shoot me a message. All right, good. We're going to move on. So Scratch Cat now moves around. When the game starts, it's nighttime, and Scratch Cat can move all around. But we need the sun. And the sun is going to be the obstacle in this game that Scratch Cat's trying to avoid. So, eyes on my screen, you're going to choose a new sprite from File. This little icon that looks like a star coming out of a file folder. And this is what it'll look like the first time that you need a new sprite. You're going to choose Fantasy. And you're going to choose the sun. Go ahead and add this sun sprite. It should be a whole new sprite, not a costume. A whole new sprite, and you're going to name it Sun. You name it up top. So go ahead and do that. You hit New Sprite from File. You go into Fantasy. And you scroll down to the sun. Go ahead and add that. All right, so the sun, we're going to set the sun up with some initial conditions too. So eyes on my screen. Under the sun, notice that the sun does not have the same code as Scratch Cat. That's because each sprite has their own code. Rachel, you absolutely can. Yes, that seems like a good idea whenever you're waiting. Right now we're going to move forward, but that's a good idea. So eyes on my screen. when the green flag is clicked, you want to set an initial condition. You want to set the sun to go to a specific area every time the game starts. In this case, we're going to move up here. So up in the right-hand corner means that x is going to be a high positive number and y is going to be a high positive number. In this case, about 150 for x and 100 for y. So when the green flag is clicked, we want the sun to be pointing to the right, and we want it to be at about 150, 100. So now, the start of the game, Scratch Cat's over to the left, sun's up in the right-hand corner, pointed in direction 90. Again, these are your initial conditions. That way, every time the game starts, it'll start with Scratch Cat over in the left and the sun over in the right. When the space bar is pressed, and that's how you either start or restart gameplay, we're going to want the sun to move forward, and when it hits, if it hits a wall, to change direction. And we need it to check if it hits the wall before it moves forward. So just like if you remember the if-then statements that we just used, if this block, if on edge bounce, if it was a full if-then statement, it would say if the condition being checked would be sun is touching the edge. And if the sun is touching the edge, it would say flip direction you're pointing. So if the sun is pointing all the way to the right, it would point all the way to the left. If the sun was pointing straight up and down and hit the top, it would point straight down. All right. So if it's touching the edge, switch directions. If it's not touching the edge, just continue moving forward. And we're going to put that in a forever loop. Let's see what that looks like. So go ahead and add that code and try it out. You should get something like you see on my screen. Pretty boring. Doop, 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 doop. All right, so it's pretty boring, right? That's because we have the sun pointed in direction 90, which is directly to the right when the game starts. So what's happening here is that it's going through this forever loop many, 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 many times. And it's moving 10 steps to the right, checking if it's on the edge, and if it's anywhere between here and here, it's not, so it just keeps moving 10 steps, moving 10 steps, moving 10 steps, moving 10 steps. Once it does encounter that edge, so if on edge becomes true, it reverses direction. So it will go either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. To change that so that the sun's movement is a little bit more interesting, whenever the space key is pressed, before the forever loop starts, we're going to have the sun turn a little bit. And you can change this number. I'm going to stick with 15 degrees. So it's nighttime, and when the space bar is pressed, now we see it's daytime. That's when the sun is at its most dangerous, and now the sun is kind of going all over the screen. Go ahead and add that. All right, so something really important to point out here, you don't want to add the turn 15 degrees in the forever loop, or else it's constantly going to be turning 15 degrees and moving 10 steps, and it'll just go in a circle. We can see that here. Right? So it's moving 15 degrees, checking to see if it's on the edge. It will never get to the edge. So it's just going to turn 15 degrees, move 10 steps, turn 15 degrees, move 10 steps, and it ends up just moving in kind of this sad circle. We only want it to turn 15 degrees once before the forever loop starts, and that just makes it move more interestingly than otherwise. All right, eyes on my screen. We got about 13 minutes, so I want to show you how you can lose the game, quote unquote. Eyes on my screen. We're going to check to see if, and I'm under the sun here, if the sun is touching Scratch Cat. And if the sun is touching Scratch Cat, Control, Stop All. And we're going to have it check within the forever loop so that it checks. We're actually going to have it check before it even checks to see if it's touching the edge. Definitely before it moves 10 steps. All right, go ahead. Try that. And let me know what you think. Let me add some of your own ideas to the game. Add some of your own style. Now you can add grass. Now you can add different stuff. And let me know if you have any questions. I hope most of you are using your Raspberry Pi, but if you are not using your Raspberry Pi and you want to share what you've done, in about 5 minutes I can let you show your screen to the rest of the class. Alright, so you all are now adding code. See what you can change. See what sorts of things. I already see that I don't really want Scratch Cat to start right there because the sun makes a beeline for Scratch Cat. So I'm going to go into Scratch Cat's code and change it so that Scratch Cat starts a little bit lower on the y-axis, maybe -75. So that maybe the sun won't get him. Maybe I'm going to change that to -85. Alright, so now, yeah, we can avoid the evil sun. Maybe you want to add something so that when the sun starts at the beginning of the game, you add a different costume so that it actually starts as the moon. And the moon is nice. It's the evil sun that is bad. So that would be pretty easy to add. I add a moon costume, and I did that under costumes. I added paint. And when the green flag is clicked, costume is moon. When the space bar is pressed, switch costume to sun. Easy as that. So you guys can just kind of mess around with it right now. Question or want to know how to do something? Or are you guys good? All right, it's been a couple minutes. Before we move forward, I'm going to ask a couple polls, and then if anyone wants to share, go ahead. So first poll, how is the pacing for today? How is the pacing today? And you can respond in a message or you can respond in the poll. Great. Wonderful. Good. Great. Okay. And second question, that was great response. And how did you find today's topic? And those of you who are doing the challenge can respond to this one as well. And this won't hurt my feelings, guys. This really does help me when it comes up to the games that I'm showing you guys and how I can introduce you to your pies. Great. Interesting and useful. Very cool. Great. Okay. I am going to close that poll. Now, does anyone have, and now you have to be using your laptop or your computer. I don't think that there's going to be an easy way for you to share what you've done on your Pi, but does anyone have something that they'd want to share? Any game that they want to share? Hey, Hannah. I'm going to make you a presenter, okay? And then you can show your screen. Great, Hannah, I can't quite hear you. I don't know if your microphone is on, but go ahead and show us what that looks like. Oh, I like your flower. There we go. Still can't hear you, sadly, but go ahead and hit the green flag and kind of show us how it works. No? There we go. Nice. Oh, man. Gotta be faster than the sun. Nice. Ooh. Got a fast sun. Great. All right. I'm going to see if anyone else wants to share. That's great. Thank you. I liked that. Anyone else want to share? Rachel. Hey, Rachel, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like the ooh, look at your animation. Great detail. Very nice. Ooh, got spiked. Can you show everybody, hold on before we move on, the next costume she added in the if right arrow is pressed, if left arrow is pressed, and then for the moving up and down too. That's a really nice touch. And you gave your cat a name. I respect that. Bob. All right, thank you. I'm gonna see if anyone else wants to share. That's great. Vivian, Brooke, do you want to share? No? All right, it's 8 p.m. We're going to continue with Scratch at a later date. Or Wednesday is that later date. Emma, Grace, I think Ava left us already, but Emma or Grace, do you have a question on Frogger, on the challenge yet? If you do not have a question, go ahead. You guys can sign off for today. This is the end of the webinar. It was a pleasure to have you and work with you this evening. I'm glad the pace worked out well and that you guys have been enjoying Scratch. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. But if you guys have any questions with the challenge, Grace and who else? Oh, looks like Grace is the only one that's still working on it. All right. Well, I'll check in with you guys Wednesday on how far you got. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys Wednesday.